Hey, it's Matt here, and I'm out in the shop working. Noticed by the attire, it's winter here. Today is December 8th. It's like it was 23 degrees outside this morning. Not sure what it is outside right now, but I don't have a heater in the garage, so it's a little bit cold out here. Anyway, thought this might be worth making a point of. My new Scat rotating assembly is all installed, and when I went to continue putting the engine together from that point on, I found that the Woodruff keys for the crankshaft, for the new Scat crankshaft, are different than the factory Ford ones. The original Ford one that's on the original 390 crank is one long Woodruff key. For people who don't know what Woodruff key is, hold that thought. So the Woodruff key, you can see right here, there. The Woodruff key is the little piece of metal that goes in the crankshaft and in that slot on the gears to keep them from spinning on the crankshaft. On a timing chain, that's really important because if your timing is not accurate, you're going to start hitting valves to pistons and all kinds of stuff like that. So the crankshaft did not come with new Woodruff keys, and it does not use the stock one. So I repeatedly attempted to contact the people at Scat to find out if I was supposed to receive them in the package, and if not, just tell me what size they are so I can buy them. That went on for a couple of weeks with no answer. So I gave up and I bought a it's like an assortment pack of Woodruff keys. And so then I had to kind of figure out which was the closest to the ones that I need, because none of them actually fit perfectly. So turns out this guy here, I need two of them that are that size. The problem is that size is correct. That thickness is slightly too thick. So here I am with a flat block of metal here and some sandpaper. And I'm doing this by hand because I don't trust myself on a belt sander to not take off too much metal initially or get it all cattywampus and have one side thicker than the other. And I don't want to screw up, like I said, my timing setup in this engine, because that would be very bad for the internal parts of the motor. So this is the second one. I've already got the one that holds the timing gear in place. This is the secondary one that takes up the gap that holds a spacer that goes on there in place, or it aligns it. So here it is. Let's walk over here to the engine. And right down here, you can see the slots. There's the one that I've already sanded to fit. This guy here is just a oil slinger. There's the timing gear. It's on, it's located. The brand new timing chain. It's also worth noting that this is an Edelbrock dual roller timing chain, and that lower gear was also exceptionally tight fit on this crankshaft. I actually had to use some sandpaper on the inside of it just to open it up just a hair to get it to fit. So as you can see, I'm trying to fiddle this thing in place, but it is still too thick. So this is trial and error. Keep doing it until it fits. So I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. All right, I am close. This should be, I think, the final test fit here. It's not complicated work, just boring, and if I did mention it, cold. And in case you're wondering why I've got these on, two reasons. It makes it easier to keep my hands clean when I'm assembling this engine. Important not to get a bunch of garbage, dirt, stuff like that in there. So these make it easier to keep my hand clean. They also make it easier to keep the engine parts clean. So let's see here. I believe this is probably going to fit now. All right, let's go take a look. All right, so Somebody asked one day what was in the background of what I'm working on here. That is my kid's 66 Ford Thunderbird. It has a well, actually, I don't know what it's in it. It's a Ford FE block. It was originally a 428 4-barrel car, but it has a factory Ford cast iron 2-barrel intake manifold on it. So my guess is I bought this from a former coworker of mine who had bought it off some tweaker. So I'm guessing the tweaker at some point removed the 428 and probably dropped in either a 352 or 390 or who knows what it is. And let me find my little mallet here. All right. Okay, let's see here. Yep, there it is. So it's just going to take a little bit of tapping with this little mallet here. And of course, with the fuel pump eccentric right there on, I can't get a very good hit. There it goes. So I'm going to grab a brass drift. Brass is softer than steel, so I can use this to set this down in here and it won't damage the woodruff key, but it allows me to work past the fuel pump eccentric, not smack my hammer on everything. All right, let's see here. This is all together now. This. When I'm ready, I got to put this on at the same time I do the timing cover, which is all ready to go on. I just haven't cleaned this off of the gasket yet. All right, so timing cover's here. New seal in the front of the timing cover. That seals around this guy, which goes on here. So this guy here is this is some Permatex Aviation Form Gasket sealant liquid. It's stuff that I've used forever building engines. It's been around for a long time. This is the stuff my dad used to use when he was building engines when I was a kid in the garage with him. It's kind of like a sealant and a glue all at one time. So it'll hold the gasket in place while you're trying to put it on. And then it also seals very well. So I'm going to throw a little bit of that on here on the timing cover. And then we will go back, or then I'll put the gasket on and then throw a little bit more on the block side of the gasket. There she blows, set that down, put my gasket in place. And paint the gasket now. All right. There is that. Looks like I'm pretty well covered. All right. Set this down. Grab a rag here and dip my finger in a little bit of this oil. And just put a little bit on that seal. And for that matter, put a little bit on here as well. All right. There is that. fingers off here real quick. And lift this up into place. And put a couple of these bolts in to just start them loose initially. And I'm now seeing a couple of spots I'm going to have to do a little touch up on because I missed painting. And of course, I can't do this with my bare fingers. So, let me grab. All right, that started. Where the hell did that one go that dropped? Well, the washer has vaporized. I'm sure it's on the floor somewhere. It's okay, I got a couple more. Let me get this one going. So you'll notice this has got quite a bit of room to move around. That is so that you can line up the crankshaft, line the seal up on the crankshaft there. Get most of these. Actually, I don't need to get the rest of these started. Now that it's one in my hand, I will. But oh, there's that washer I was looking for. Perfect. How lucky is that? Bounced right next to all my tools. Should buy a lottery ticket. All right, so those are all in and just barely snug. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab crankshaft, spacer slash seal surface, and I'm going to tap that puppy in. And I'm not sure why that's not going in. Because it's all the way in, dummy. All right, so disregard, it's all the way in. So now that that has aligned this guy where it needs to be, all I gotta do is tighten these down. So this is just an aluminum cover. Do not want to crank it down real hard because you'll crack the aluminum. All right, so let me bring this around the front here and you can see what that looks like now. So timing cover's on here. The timing pointer mounts in these two screw holes. They don't go through. Over here is where the factory fuel pump mounts. I have a fuel pump that's going to go on there. So you can see a couple spots here where I didn't paint. I'll have to go back and touch those up. And then a couple spots where I got a little bit of that gasket sealer all over the place that I will clean up. But timing cover's on, which means the next thing I can throw on is my oil pan. All right, screw it. I thought I was done, but I'm not. I want to get this thing together. So what I have here is a brand new oil pan gasket. And you will notice, you may not notice, those who know what they're doing will notice that I've got studs here. I replaced the bolts with some stainless steel studs. And now, I don't know, it's feeling like my pan may hit. Oh, you know what I can do? Do this. I don't know that my pan is going to clear this little section right here, because the gasket is going over the bolt. I don't know if I got enough room. You know what? Let's just put it on there and see before I start chopping stuff up. But if I end up with a leak at the rear of this engine, I know why. Let's see here. There it is. This is not a stock oil pan. This is a Canton Racing road racing oil pan. Not only is it a higher capacity than the stock oil pan, but it has all kinds of baffling and stuff inside of it, so that when, what am I hitting here? Oh, there we go. So that when you're doing things like cornering on a road course or in an autocross, which this car will be doing, it keeps the oil from sloshing around in the engine away from the oil pickup and causing issues from oil starvation, which is never a good thing for your engine. Let's see, that way. These holes are, there it is. There we go. So let's see. That, it looks like it, I can't tell. I think I'm hitting, I am indeed, I'm hitting the main cap nuts, because they stick up higher than the stock ones. That is not good. So I'm gonna have to get this back off of here. Where is my... Okay. Looks good though, doesn't it? I'm gonna have to make a modification to the bottom of the pan right over here where these nuts sit in order to get this pan to seal properly. The weird thing is I don't recall the stock pan having issues. Not to say it didn't, I just don't recall. Well, it's right, because the main cap bolts were different. All right, let's get this thing off of here. Maybe. There it is. All right, get that off. And I need to be right there. Let's try and see what the pan gasket looks like on the oil pan. See if that will tell me how much of an issue I'm having, since I know where it's hitting on the gasket. Oh yeah, pretty good. So, I think there's two ways I can resolve this issue. The ARP bolts that are on here, my main cap bolts, have a thick washer that's causing that bolt head to stick up. So I need to do them up to 105 foot-pounds, but right now I just need to back this one off. All right, let's see. Once I take this thing out of here, I should probably back this other one off too, so they're not sitting here both, one of them way cranked down tight and the other one not. All right. All right, let's see if I have enough room for that to go all the way down without the washer. I can't tell if that's, I'm gonna have to get a feeler gauge. It looks bottomed out. Let me do this. Yeah, that's hitting. All right, perfect. It's not bottoming out. Let me back this one out. Take this washer off. Put it back in. All right. So these are torqued to 105 foot-pounds, but you gotta do it in stages. 105. All right. Now, that'll clear. So, I bring my oil pan gasket back up here. Put this back in place, and you can see it's already sitting flush. So, then we bring the oil pan back. There is the pan. And it fits flush now. So here's the studs I gotta put in the timing cover because I forgot to do those originally. This is gonna suck. This is why I should. You know what? I'm being an idiot. There's a shot. Nothing says the oil pan has to be in my way. Hey, look at that. They are smart. All right, so then got a bag of nuts that go on all of those. Bring this back up. There is that. And I have a whole bag of nuts to install on all of these. You know what? Everything's new. I'm tired of my fingers slipping. Bam! My oil pan is now on. Anyway, there we have it. Timing chain cover has been installed. Let me roll this motor back over here, put the oil pan where it belongs on the bottom. Well, that's interesting. Once I roll this up, I will show you what I just found. All right. So, perfect. Camera angle is perfect. On the top of the cylinders here, you can see this is a water jacket, water jacket, water jacket, water jacket, water jacket, water jacket. This is an oil feed that goes up to the cylinder head. And I think these little ones here are also water jackets. But I have no idea. Oh, you know what? I think I know what that is. I think that on the water pump on this thing, the lower hose has a spring that's coiled up inside of that hose to prevent the hose from collapsing when the oil pump or when the water pump is trying to suck water through it. So it has a spring in there to prevent it from collapsing. I think this is a chunk of that spring because this just was hanging out of this water jacket right here. So as I started to roll the engine back over, I could see it protruding. This engine has been rotated over and over. I don't know how many times. It was hot tanked at the machine shop. It was machined multiple times. No idea how that made it all the way through there. Hell, I've cleaned the entire block out with a hose and brushes. So this sucker was hiding somewhere in one of the water jackets, and it just now came out. Interesting. Anyway, that's all I got for you today.